A very good noon to all of you. I am Nikita and I welcome you to this channel BYJU'S Exam Prep MBA. Today we are going to talk about MAHCT. Yes, all of you have been waiting for these sessions. So let's talk about MAHCT. Let's decode the VARC section, and along with that we are going to practice some questions today. Right? So let's begin. I hope I am clearly visible and audible to all of you. If not, please let me know. Right? And then we can start. Okay. Hi, new version. Good noon. Good noon. Right. So, what is the agenda of the session? Of course, we'll look at some quick learnings that we can gather from the last year's paper, right? And then we'll see what all question types are asked in the VRC section, along with practicing those question types, right? So, that's on the agenda for today. Now, hi, Apurva. Okay. So, if I look at the broad pattern, the broad MHCT pattern, I think all of you know this by now, that these are the four sections that you have to appear for, right? You have to attempt these four sections. There are no sectional time limits. I hope you also know this. Abstract reasoning is something that will be new for you, which has visual reasoning or non-verbal reasoning, right? And 200 questions in total. The important thing to note is that these number of questions are not constant. Okay, roughly you'll be asked these many questions from each section, but it's not something that's set in stone. It's not something that's constant, fixed, so to say. Right? Good noon, Pratyush. Hello, Abhishek. Hi, Milind. Hello, Soni. Hi, Patil. So we will be having dedicated sessions for quant. I think, see, we are already having some for TISNET. So the syllabus of quantitative aptitude, so to say, is similar, right? It's just that the proportions of various topics varies from exam to exam. So why don't you attend those sessions as well? They will help you, right? So do not think that I want to attend an MHCT dedicated session only and then only I can improve at a particular section. It does not work that way when the syllabus that you're preparing for is common across exams, isn't it? Just the proportions are different, just the parameters are different. Okay, so just to give you, yes, we will be having sessions for CMAT as well, Parth. Okay, once it comes relatively nearer, right? Now, in 2022, I have just given you a glimpse of three slots, right? So the paper happened on 3 days in 2022, and there were 6 slots in total. So I am giving you a glimpse of 3 slots just to give you an idea as to how the number of questions can vary across slots and across sections. So, for instance, in the first slot itself in logical reasoning, there were 79 to 80 questions as opposed to 75 that I have written here. So treat them as an average, right? And 10 questions here and there can happen. So see, in the next slot it was 65 to 70, while in the third one it was 70. Look at the variation in VARC, 54 to 56. So let's call it 55 here, 50 here, and approximately 60 here. So that sort of variation you can expect across slots. Okay, so see here 60 questions on QADI, whereas here just 48 questions. So there were variations in the number of questions across slots. But on an average, I can say that, okay, expect approximately 55 questions, 50 to 55 questions in the verbal ability and reading comprehension section. Okay. This will be useful for TISNET because I'll be doing vocabulary and grammar questions with you today, Aman. So while I'll be talking about MHCT framework, etc., the questions that we attempt will be useful for you. Okay? Jasuman, Aman, I hope I've answered. Yes, yes, VRC. Yes, absolutely. I'm also talking about VRC. The questions will be useful for you. Okay. So now these 200 questions, they do not carry any sectional time limits. Basically, these 200 questions that you have to attempt in 150 minutes, there is no sectional time limit for that. So that means you have to manage your own time there, right? 5 options are given to you. 1 mark for every correct answer and no negative marking. That's a big, big plus of MHCT. That means you should attempt all the questions, right? You should mark all the questions because there's no negative marking, right? And Now that you have to manage your own time, can you tell me how much time you should devote to VARC? You've just seen the number of questions and you know that you have 150 minutes in total. So any rough idea as to how much time I should spend in VARC? Hi Shubham, give me a rough idea about the time I should spend in VARC. Okay. Sony, have you prepared for other examinations as well? Any other entrance tests? If you have, then RC passages in MHCT are not that difficult. Okay, so if you've prepared for other examinations, you don't need any special preparation. You just need to be relatively speedy. Okay, so speed matters in MHCT. So see, you have approximately 40 minutes, right? Absolutely correct. Jayasuman, Yash. Approximately 40 minutes is what you should spend on your VRC section, right? Now, in these 40 minutes, you have to attempt on an average, let's say 55 questions. I'm taking it to be 55. Out of these, now there are huge fluctuations when it comes to RC passages also across slots. So in one slot, for instance, last year we had 15 questions, while in another we had 22 questions. So I'm looking at it percentage wise, this is a huge fluctuation, right? So that way you cannot ignore the RC passages. You can't think, oh, I'll leave the RC passages. That won't do if there are 22 questions out of 55 from RC passages, isn't it? What you have to do instead is that you have to be speedy. That means you have to maximize your score by getting all the direct questions correct. First things first. You can get inferential questions also. So in case you've prepared for your other examinations, then inference questions should also not pose much of a problem for you. And what I have seen from the previous year papers, the inference questions are also not very difficult. If let's say out of 22 questions, there are 4 difficult questions, 5 difficult questions, you can choose just to mark them randomly, just to narrow down to 2 options and then mark something randomly and proceed. So you don't have to be stuck in these questions. In a couple of these questions, you may get stuck because 2 to 3 inference questions may be difficult. But stuck mat ho, if you've narrowed down to 2 options, you're not able to proceed further, mark one and proceed. You can do this for 2 to 3 questions, not for all the questions. Right? And lastly, you can expect RC passages of varied lengths. So in the slot where we had 22 questions, there were quite short RCs also, which you could call paragraphs in fact, right? Very short RCs also we saw, and we saw 600 word RCs as well. So prepare for RCs of varied lengths. I think going for your previous year papers, your memory based previous year papers is going to help you tremendously when it comes to RC passages, just getting a hang of the kind of RC passages that are asked. Okay, all right. So approximately 40 minutes is what I feel, right? 35 to 40 minutes, not less than that, because you have to navigate through your vocabulary, grammar, then there's verbal logic as well. So you have parajumbles, you can have syllogism also, you can have course of action, statement assumption, all these types of questions you can have. So you need some amount of time to navigate through all these questions, right? Okay, all right. Now, so Shubham, I'll have to check this and get back to you. Okay. CMAT, yes, it is definitely useful for CMAT, right? CMAT also asks vocabulary and grammar in ample numbers, right? So now, see, instead of showing you an analysis of the previous year slots, because there were 6 slots, so it would have become very cumbersome. What I've done is I have noted down the question types that were asked last year in vocabulary. So broadly, these are the question types that were asked. See these. Now, fill in the blanks, spelling, idiom, synonym, antonym. So, there are no new question types if you see. These are not new question types, are they? You've practiced fill in the blanks for some other exams. Spellings could be a new area for you, right? And you do have to practice for these, right? Do practice spelling questions. I also have a spelling question today, right? Why? Because sometimes MHCT can ask difficult spelling questions, as was seen last year and last to last year as well, right? So in some slots the spelling questions were difficult. So this is one area that you need to prepare for. Just 1 to 2 idiom questions were asked last year. Synonym antonym is an area that I think most of you have already prepared for, even if you've prepared for just one non-CAT exam, right? Then also you must have prepared for it. One word substitution, where the meaning of a word is given to you. You have to substitute the appropriate word from the given options that fits that meaning. Analogy, again, not a new question type for you, and I have this question type today. We'll do it. Word usage. So a word will be given to you. Then five sentences will use that word in a sentence. Okay, one of the sentences will use it incorrectly. You'll have to spot the incorrect one. Or it can be vice versa also. Four of them will use the word incorrectly, one will use it correctly, and you'll have to spot that one. Right? So these are the major vocabulary question types. Yes, yes. So there was this word in spellings last year, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay, they asked the spelling of this word. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And you'll be surprised, this word doesn't even have a very concrete origin. It was just it emerged as a sort of a gibberish word, a sort of a word play, right? And it was popularized by a movie in the 60s or sometime around that. And that's how it's an informal word. You shouldn't use it in, let's say, a formal setting. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And they asked the spelling of this word from students. Very unfair. Yes. So this is how things have been for the last 2 years. There were some relatively easier questions also. It's not like all the questions were of this type. However, yes, you should prepare for some difficult spelling questions. Okay, the previous year papers are going to help you in this regard. Okay, yes, it's a slang word. Absolutely correct. Absolutely. Word power made easy. Yes, it will help you when it comes to your synonym antonym questions. It will also help you with regard to your fill in the blanks, right? I'll show you a question today of one word substitution where your understanding of the difference in the connotation of words, in the sense the image associated with words or the context in which they are used, will help. And that's something that I also realized when I did word power made easy regarding that word. So I'll show you through a question how building a pool of high frequency words is going to help you for your vocabulary. And yes, word power made easy will help. You have approximately 2 months. Yes, March 18, 19, that's approximately 2 months away. So I think you'll be able to very comfortably finish word power made easy in that span. Right? Okay. Yes, this is one word. Right. So here's a question for you. This is a spelling question, and you have to tell me which word has been spelled incorrectly here. Yes, five options. Tell me which word has been spelled incorrectly here. Yes, Om. So that's the worst part actually, that across slots there were wide variations in the difficulty levels last year, right? And I don't know how they normalize when there are such wide fluctuations. How do you normalize in such a scenario? I have no clue. So a lot of times, it became about luck. So for instance, students on the first day, they had a relatively easy VRC paper, while on the second day in one of the slots the paper was not easy. So uh, it you even we felt very helpless there, right? It became about luck in that case. So yeah, that's how it is till now. I hope that they learn something from the previous year and they don't carry, the paper does not carry such wide fluctuations, but let's see. Okay, 4 is what you say, that this is the incorrect spelling. All right, how many of you took IIFT this year? Anyone who took IIFT? I am not sure about that, Jaisuman. It's a very contentious thing. I'll confirm it from their official website and then I'll tell you whether they have released something in this regard or not. Okay. So, ideally, it should happen, right? When there are such wide fluctuations. But what they have they said something categorically about it? I'll just check and let you know. 4 is what all of you are saying. Yes, this word, why I was asking you, did anyone take IFT, was that this word came in IFT this year. Contretemps. So this is how it is pronounced. It's a French word, contretemps. Right. And it has been adopted in English, right? It's widely used in English. It means a minor dispute. That's one meaning, a minor dispute. See, if I break this, no, contrary comes from contra, which means against, contra. And this temps here, which is pronounced as ton, right? This temps means time. Temporal means related to time, in case you've heard the word temporal. Okay, temporal changes would be time related changes. So, a minor dispute or an unfortunate occurrence, a minor dispute or an unfortunate occurrence is called contretemps, right? Such contretemps kept happening with him. So, such unfortunate occurrences kept happening with him, right? He kept engaging into contretemps with his neighbors, right? So, this is how we'll use it. And the spelling is absolutely correct. Nothing wrong with the spelling here, right? 3 is what I've got as an alternative. Absolutely correct. 3 is the answer. So this is a color also. This is a flower also. Fuchsia. That's how we pronounce it. And the spelling is this. The CH comes first. The SIA comes later. Sia comes later. Okay. Fuch comes first. Fuchsia. So it's a purplish, reddish purplish color. And I'm sure that some of you seen the flower, some of you heard of it in a color context. The spelling here was incorrect. All the other spellings are fine. All the other spellings are fine. Okay. Uh, Now, frangible. So, what is frangible? The spelling is correct, but what is the meaning of the word? So, fragments. Frangier means fragments, right? This is a word that I did yesterday with some of the students on the app. I had a session related to etymology, how to basically learn words. So, I showed them some common root words. Frangier. This is a root that means fragment. So fraction, fractious, frangible, all of them have this root. It means something that can be broken into fragments. Frangible. Okay. Now OTOs. OTOs. Yes. What does this word mean? OTOs. Not a very commonly heard word, is it? It's something that does not serve any major practical purpose, right? Something that's not practical, something that's redundant because it's not serving any practical purpose. That is OTOs. I did this yesterday with some of you. If you attended the session, vocabulary based on fill in the blanks, we did this word yesterday. So this was a test for you. How many of you remembered this? If you remembered this, then you would easily eliminate OTOs, right? Do watch this session in case you're preparing for MHCT, for TISNET, it will help you. Okay, because FIB is based on vocabulary, they come in all the non-CAT exams. So OTOs, the spelling is absolutely fine, no errors there. Onerous, onerous. When you find something to be onerous, you find it to be burdensome. Okay, बहुत ही burdensome है वो आपके लिए. That is when you find it onerous. I think it was asked in one of the previous MHCT papers, onerous. That's why I included this word here. Right? So the incorrect spelling was fuchsia. I hope this is clear to everybody and we can proceed. Contretemps, nothing was wrong with it. In case some of you took IFT, you may have remembered it. Right. Word substitution. So here I've underlined the meaning of a word. You have to tell me which word fits. Okay, so be. So basically in continuation of the sentence. Right. This should have been small. Anyway, tell me which word fits here the best. Let's see. Swagnik says chronic. Others? Gratitude says perennial. Omkar chronic. Okay. Aman chronic. Om and Pratyush say perennial. So, see here the context matters. I have written a sentence. That means I am looking for a particular word in this context, isn't it? So, your footpin is not going to end anytime soon. It is known to be dash. Now, last for a long time, perennial is also correct there, chronic is also correct. But what are we talking about? We're talking about pain here, right? For illnesses, the word that we use is chronic, not perennial. Perennial does not fit as well as does the word chronic. For any illness that persists for a long time, we use the word chronic. Perennial means everlasting, eternal, right? That's the meaning. It's the opposite of seasonal, perennial. So, like we have perennial rivers and we have seasonal rivers. You may have read this in geography. Yes? So the answer here is 5. 5 is a better fit. Good. Absolutely. Ephemeral is also the opposite of perennial. Yes, correct. Yes, Swagnik, I did. Evanescent, ephemeral, they are both opposites of perennial, just like seasonal. What do they mean? There's a word in Hindi, in case some of you are Hindi fans, Shan Bhangur. That means something that's very temporary, lasts just 1 second, one shan, as we say. So that is evanescent. Okay, evanescent, ephemeral, something that is very temporary in nature, is very short lived. Okay, temporary, short lived. What have I done? Temporary ki spelling, yeah, and short lived, right? So our that is ephemeral, right? Uh, I would not say it was a cakewalk. Why? Because one RC passage, the one on institutions, was challenging there, right? I mean, in my slot, I had a passage on institutions, slot two. Then, apart from that, managing the time in VRC, when you have, let's say, one difficult RC passage, and I want to attempt all the RC passages because that's my strength. So, managing the time also, it takes effort, right? So, CAT. I mean, I usually find ZAT VLR to be relatively easier for me. Why? Because I have relatively more time there. Of course, I want to maximize my time in the strength. So for me, ZAT VLR is actually relatively easier, right? MHCT registrations, okay, yes, yes, they are open. So the answer here is chronic, right? Not perennial. I hope you've understood it. Yes. Let's have a look at the next question, analogy. Uh, let's see what you say. Hmm. In fact, the word temporary, when I was writing it, I realized this that this also is related to time, right? Temporal comes here also. The temporal, contretemps, as we pronounce it, and contretemps as we spell it. So all of these, see, we just learned another root here, temp, which means time, right? Adjective. This is a noun here, right? Not an adjective. Okay. So okay, I accept that, Swagnik. However, see, because we conduct a lot of mock analysis, so for that we do have to take mocks, right? So I do take mocks, and uh, then I go for the actual paper. But yes, that stress is not there, of course, because I'm not an aspirant, so that stress is definitely absent. Okay. So Pratyush has answered. And what about others? Karan, we can't say this, okay? So I'll tell you again. Last year in the first slot, grammar was completely absent. So I have seen this I saw this last year also, and I saw this last year also, that grammar was absent in a couple of slots while it was asked heavily in some other slots. So I would say that vocabulary is something that has been asked constantly. So if let's say I have to see what is constant, then that's vocabulary, and then that is more important. However, if let's say you have a slot where grammar is completely absent, then you will come out with an opinion, oh, grammar is not important. Then the next slot happens, that student gets 8 sentence correction questions. This happened last year. So based on that, I'm telling you. So that student will think, oh yes, I should have practiced sentence correction questions. So vocab to perennial hai, right? We just did this word. Vocab to karni hai, and grammar, it depends how many questions you get, but you can't risk leaving it, right? You can't risk that, okay, let me not do it, because what if 8 to 10 questions appear on grammar, right? So you do have to practice that also. Okay. Yes, Saiba. At 12, we meet on the YT channel. Okay. Now see this. We had to, of course, find a similar relationship in analogy. Unless stated otherwise, you always have to find a similar relationship to the one given in the question. So ages. Under the ages of so and so authority, we are conducting our annual function. I have seen a lot of schools, colleges publishing, their card like this. So under the ages of the honorable president, we are conducting this activity. So ages means support. Right. Now we had to find a similar relationship. What all have I got? I've got D and I've got E. Then some of you are even confused between C and D. C and D. Right. So these three, that means. Lanky, a lanky fellow, a lanky person. Who, what kind of person is he or she? Thin and tall. Lanky is thin and tall. Burly, on the other hand, a burly fellow, a burly person is heavily built, right? Strong, heavily built. That person is burly. Okay. Now, these are opposites, so this cannot be the answer. Hector is to bully. To hector someone is to bully someone. B is the answer here. None of C, D, and E. So to hector someone is to bully someone. Vigorous, energetic, enthusiastic. That's vigorous. Venerate, on the other hand, is to respect someone. Venerate is to respect someone. So this is a verb and it means to respect. Now these are not difficult words. Vigorous, venerate. So I think C you should have eliminated. Right? Yes, burly you can associate with Kali. Right? Whatever helps you to remember words, you should do that. Winsome. I did this word yesterday with you in the session on fill in the blanks. You remember that question? I cannot tolerate winsome children. So winsome did not fit there because winsome means adorable, attractive. That is winsome. So winsome is a positive word, whereas chucklesome is not related. Chucklesome is something that you find amusing, on which you will chuckle, right? So again, they are not related. They cannot be the answers, right? So attractive and amusing, not synonymous at all. Abjure is to request. Now I understand why some of you said E. Yes, let me see how many of you said E. Aman, Pratyush, you guys said E. Actually, the word for request is adjure, not abjure. So the correct word that was needed here for these to be synonymous was adjure. To adjure someone to do something is to urge them to do something. To abjure something is to abandon. देखो abjure, abandon. Learn it like this. Abjure, abandon. Ab. Right? Adjure, adjure is to request, to urge. So ad as a prefix means to or towards. So you are, you want someone to listen to you. to listen to the advice that you are giving him, or to listen to the request that you're making. So towards से relate कर सकते हो इसको to remember it. Adjure means to request. Okay. So the answer here is B, Bangalore. Right? Okay. Analogy, yes. Analogy means a comparison between two things in order to highlight their similarity. A comparison between two things in order to highlight their similarity. Right? Thank you. Thank you. Uh, Vocabulary is nominally sufficient, or should we go for other resources? See, for vocabulary, I can never say that, okay, this is sufficient. Vocabulary, words are not limited, right? In fact, new words are invented every year. Oxford English Dictionary, Merriam-Webster, they declare words of the year, words that were invented perhaps in that year or that became popular in that year. So I can never say that, okay, this is it, But yes, I can always tell you what will help you. Word Par made easy, definitely, because it has a pool of high frequency words. Okay, so do this for yourself, do this book, you'll be able to finish it in 45 days if you sit with one chapter every day. Then after that, attempt your previous year papers. MHCT previous year papers, the memory based ones, and you will see that a lot of vocabulary words there actually come from here. I'm not saying that they see this as the source, they open WordPar and then they make the questions. But क्योंकि यहाँ पर भी high frequency words ही हैं, and quite a few of your questions have high frequency words, so that's why they'll match, right? So this is one source. This is just one of the sources. Okay, this can become your second source because when you practice questions, of course, you will learn some new words that will happen. So don't just limit yourself to MHCT previous year papers. I always tell you that all your non-CAT papers have such vocabulary questions. Okay, so go for all your non-CAT papers, whichever are available. Apart from that, I'm sure you'll be taking some mocks, so you'll be picking up some words from there. And the third thing that I recommend to you at this stage is going for going for vocabulary quizzes at regular intervals. So if you open our app, you will find some vocabulary tests there, right? So, spelling error. Just a second. Let me just write it here. If you open our app, right, there you have some vocabulary tests, so you can go for those vocabulary tests. Otherwise, you can download some apps. There are a lot of apps on Play Store that are for vocabulary, right? One app that I like is Vocabulary Builder. Okay, so you can download this one. And apart from that, if you have the time, uh, after this, if you have the time, if you can, let's say, if you're someone who's good at memorization, so word lists, there are certain word lists that can help you. And after doing WordPar, you will see that you already know quite a few words from these word lists as well. So Barron's 800 is the most basic word list that students go for. So this is what will help you for your vocabulary. This will ensure that, okay, you get some of the vocabulary questions correct. So if 10 are asked, probably you will know 6 to 7 if you do all these sources. But can I guarantee 10? Nobody can guarantee 10. Okay, so that's the preparation for vocabulary. All right. Hmm, that happens, Wagnik. But then you realize this. Okay, attempt this idiom question and let me answer your query at the same time. See, this is the highlighted word here. This has been put in bold. It's an idiom. I want you to tell me the meaning of this idiom. Right? Yes. So, Norman Louis, when you attempt word power, Norman Louis says a very beautiful thing. Even if you learn correct grammar, who will you communicate with? Right? And he deliberately makes it a point to say, who will you communicate with? Let me write this sentence here. So the thing is that a lot of us, in fact, when I also talk to you in conversations, we tend to make errors, okay? And nobody notices them because our ultimate aim is to get what we are saying across. Yes. So one is that no one, I mean, most of the people do not communicate to each other orally in perfect grammar, using perfect grammar, right? That's one thing. Second is that even if you learn correct grammar, the person in front of you may not know it, and that's okay as long as you are able to understand what he or she is saying. You need to learn grammar for your examination purposes, one, and for your writing. Because while writing, you can't make grammatical errors because you think things through while writing them, before writing them. So there you are expected not to make grammatical errors. So in your WATs, writing ability tests, you are expected to write correct grammar, right? When you're writing a research paper, you're expected to write correct grammar. Even though there are tools like, let's say, Grammarly, etc., in the market right now, they are not perfect. So you need to be sure about what you're writing, even when you're using a grammar checker. So that's the purpose. Okay. And yes, tell me, is this correct? Plow a lonely furrow, you say E, B, C, D. Okay, basically I've got everything except A. So, plow a lonely furrow. That means it's just you. Yes? So, I think A and B should have been eliminated. Right? Has something to do with doing something alone. So, Helis is of the opinion that he can plow a lonely furrow for his new business. Okay, so plow a lonely furrow. That means alone for profit. No, this has nothing to do with profit. This has to do with working. See, when you use a furrow, it's a tool. You are working. You're working alone. Whether you're working for a profit or not, that's not clear from the idiom, right? Do without others' help. That is the answer. So when you persist yourself alone without anyone's help, that is called plow a lonely furrow. Okay, this is the idiom. This is the meaning. Succeed only if alone? No, that's not the meaning. So see here, it's a fixed meaning. Okay, I didn't make it up. यही meaning होता है इस idiom का. अच्छा, so tell me, is this word correct here? Should who come here or should whom come here? Who versus whom? Yes, it should be who or whom. Quickly tell me. It should be whom. Correct, Karan. Correct, Apurva. Okay, whom and not who. Okay, why is that the case? Because, see this. Here's a grammar lesson for you. Uh, if you answer this question, you will say, communicate, I will communicate with, what will you say? He or him? He or him? You will say, I will communicate with him. Of course, all of us know this because of the way we talk, right? So, when you use him as an answer, when him comes in the answer, then whom should come in the question? Him is an objective pronoun, a pronoun that acts as an object, and so is whom an objective pronoun, a pronoun that acts as an object here of this preposition with. Right? So, जब him answer है तो whom आएगा, जब he answer है तो who आएगा. A very simple check to decide between who and whom. Right? So see how smart Norman Louis was being when he said that who will you communicate with? उसने error करके बोली ये चीज. ठीक है? Okay. It is available online, Karan. Just Google it and you'll find the PDF for free. Okay. Now, what is being asked in grammar? Sorry, the animations are a bit haywire here. Okay, so grammar is the title and these are the question types. Error spotting, sentence correction, fill in the blanks. Usually I see these question types in grammar, and last year we saw these question types in grammar in MHCT. Okay, so let's see what kind of questions come on this. And I'm sure, again, if you've practiced for any non-CAT exam, you must have practiced these questions already. But still, let's see some questions. Yes. Spot an error. Spot an error. Which part is erroneous? If no part is erroneous, then E will be the answer. Okay. Anyone who knows the answer to this? Last year it was sectional, as in all the questions were at one place. All the questions of a particular section were at one place. Anybody who's read any notification in this regard this year can answer, Sadanand. C, B, all right. B, all right. A lot of B's. Okay. Okay. E also, no error also I've got. A meeting was organized. Nothing wrong with this. So why are we saying A? A meeting was organized among all the homeowners, all the tenants, and all the security guards. I know some of you must be thinking, why repeat this all again and again? You are right. I could skip this all also. All the homeowners, tenants, and security guards, okay, would also be fine. However, it's if I have repeated it and I have kept it consistent across various elements, so there are three elements here and I've kept it consistent, so it will not count as an error, right? Anyway, if let's say you feel that this is the error, then what will you mark? Does C have an error or does D have an error? Because if all should be absent, it should be absent from both of them. You get it? So this C and D, nothing wrong with them either. It is a preposition error. Preposition question this was. The error is in the usage of the preposition. What should come here? It should be between. Now you will be surprised, some of you. Those of you who have attended some of my previous sessions won't be surprised because this is a concept that I repeat often. In our school, we have been told that between is a preposition that is used when there are two entities, two people, two things, and among is used when there are more than two entities. So I'm sure here you must have seen that there are three, and that's why you thought that among is correct. However, this information that we were told in school was incomplete. Okay. Between is used for more than two entities also when they have been specifically named. So here I have specifically named the three parties: homeowners, tenants, and security guards. Among is used for more than two only when not specified. Only when not specified. The names have not been specified. So, for instance, a fight broke out among the fans. Now, among the fans, I want to convey that, of course, this person has more than two fans, but now I have not specifically named one, two, three fans. So now I'll say among. Right? So when you specify the parties, you use between itself for more than two entities also. That's why you must have read in the newspaper, an agreement was signed between India, China, and Pakistan. Even when we read about three countries, we say between. Choose between option A, B, C, and D. Question instructions, we say between. Right? Good. Om, so your thought was correct. Now you will not forget it. B was the erroneous part here. Okay? All right. So here's a very small little sentence correction question for you. This is the sentence. You have to tell me what is the best way of writing this sentence. Yes. Sentence correction. Let's see what you say. Okay. You said D is correct. All right. Yes, absolutely correct, Karan. Very well put. So when we say choose among the following options, that's because I didn't name the options there. The examiner didn't name the options there. Amongst is just a fancy way of saying among, okay? Among versus amongst. So amongst is just a fancy cousin of among. Okay, it's a relatively older usage. Okay, and it said that Americans prefer among and British people prefer amongst. That's also what some of the websites will tell you. Just that amongst is relatively more literary in nature. थोड़ा ज़्यादा formal लगता है, थोड़ा literary, थोड़ा heavy लगता है. Meaning absolutely same है. The meaning is absolutely same. Okay. B, okay, a lot of B I've got, a lot of B's. What kind of car do you want? Absolutely correct. The A was erroneous here. See, when we use kind here, we mean uh, variety in a way, right? So, एक कार की variety तो नहीं पूछ रहे हैं हम, right? One car's variety is not something that I am questioning you about. So, what kind of car do you want is how I should put it, not what kind of a car. A is erroneous here. Similarly, the is erroneous. Okay. What kinds? The moment I say kinds, I should say cars. What kinds of cars do you want? Okay, so probably this person wants more than one car, and that's why we are asking what kinds of cars do you want? So then it would be correct. Okay, right now it is wrong. What kind of car are you wanting? Want is a verb that is never used in the continuous tense. Okay, so we never say I am wanting something, I want something. What are the kinds of? Again, cars. Cars. The moment you say kinds, it has to be cars. And therefore, eliminated. So, our answer is option B. Yes, option B. What kind of car do you want? Hope this is clear. Interesting concept. We don't need any article before car here. Okay. Let's look at this question. It's a grammar based fill in the blank. So, fill in the blanks could be based on vocabulary also, grammar also. Let's see this one. Yes. No, kind is not plural in itself. No, no, no. When we want to say varieties, we need to use kinds. There are many kinds of people in this world. Okay, many kinds of people. Okay, all right. Let's see what you say. A, okay. C, what else? So the two actions, see, one action was in progress when this other action happened. The action of cutting hair was in progress, was going on when basically chopping hair. Let's use the word chopping because this person has used the word chopping. The action of chopping hair was in progress when the barber, when sometime, when this was happening, at some point, he cut his finger, right? So, the action that is in progress should be in the continuous tense, right? So, it can't simply be chop, it can't simply be chopped. It has to be in the continuous tense. Okay. Then this says cuts, which is present simple, while this says had been chopping, which is past. So, there is inconsistency. Eliminated, eliminated, eliminated. Now, why are we saying had cut? Okay, when do we use the past perfect? When we want to talk about two things that happened in the past. Now, both of these things happened in the past. One happened earlier in the past and one happened later in the past. So, with the earlier action, I use had. That's the logic. But then this action happened while this other one was also in progress. Okay, so had cut becomes incorrect and the barber cut his finger while he was chopping off my hair. C is the answer here, okay? Not B and not A either. D also I got from some of you. Uh, See, it may. Usually, I have seen spelling questions. I have seen questions that are based on this idea. Origin of words, root words. British American, I'll have to check if they've asked many such questions in the past. I can't recall. तो दैट मीन्स बहुत नहीं होंगे. स्पेलिंग क्वेश्चंस आप पूछ सकते हैं, राइट? व्हाट इज द करेक्ट स्पेलिंग एंड व्हाट आर द रूट्स और व्हाट इज द ओरिजिन ऑफ दिस वर्ड, दैट कैन बी आस्क्ड. ओके. Yes, yes. You are right in saying that both are in the past tense here. That was not my objection to option A. My objection to option A was that you use the past perfect tense. Perfect means completed. You use the past perfect tense when two actions happened in the past in a sequence. One action happened and got completed either before or by the time the second one began. तो क्या बार्बर पहले ही अपनी फिंगर काट चुका था? Yes. The barber had not cut the finger earlier. This happened while the other thing was happening. Right? So had cut becomes wrong there. Right? That was my objection to it. Moreover, with the second action in that case, you do not use past continuous. With the second action, when you're using the structure, two actions happened in the past. The first one takes had, and the second one is in the past simple tense. Past simple tense, not in the past continuous tense. Okay, so the barber had cut his finger before he chopped my hair, before he chopped off my hair, right? तो उससे पहले ही अपनी finger वो काट चुका. Let's say somebody is alleging, the barber was chopping off your hair and you were moving so much that, he cut his finger. So I then justify, no, he had already cut his finger much before he chopped off my hair. Now this sentence is correct. Okay, all right. So this was about grammar, right? You are asked some questions on verbal logic as well. So parajumbles. In fact, CET parajumbles were popular earlier because CET was known to ask a parajumble set question, which did not come last year. So there was a whole set of questions, 5 to 6 questions based on one single parajumble, wherein the questions were like this. Which of the following is the first sentence of the rearranged paragraph? Which of the following is the second sentence? So basically they turned one question into 5, 6 questions. And sometimes this question also had some vocabulary and grammar elements in it. Okay, some vocabulary and grammar questions in it. Such questions did not come last year. Okay, then odd sentence parajumbles, in the very first slot, there were 8 odd sentence parajumble questions, right? So I'm sure some of you must have prepared for these questions for CAT. That knowledge will come in handy now. Syllogism, you know what syllogism is, using Venn diagrams, deductive logic, right? That was asked last year. And other types, statement conclusion, course of action, okay, cause effect, such questions are also asked. So this is your verbal logic syllabus, so to say. Okay. How to improve sentence correction? You usually get stuck there. So Kriti, some tips for sentence correction. See, one thing that I have noticed is that because it's a speed based exam and we ask students to read speedily. Yes, we want them to be speedy readers. While this works for reading comprehension passages, it does not work for grammar. Don't speed read your grammar questions, because when you're trying to find a flaw in something, if you speed read it, you may not find that flaw. So read them relatively slowly, not extremely slowly, but relatively slowly, so that you're able to spot errors. So when you read the original sentence, try to spot as many errors as you can. Then when you come to the options, instead of reading each option horizontally like this, try to read the options vertically. Okay, basically, for instance, if I look at this question, okay, what common kinds? Okay, I see a difference there, right? Here we have kinds, whereas here we have kind. So I'll decide whether kinds fit with car or not. No, it does not fit. A eliminated. Kind of car, okay, makes sense. Kind of car makes sense. Kinds of car does not make sense. D eliminated. So I haven't even read the whole sentences till now, but I've been able to eliminate 2 options. So read vertically, spot the differences, and then eliminate the incorrect ones. That's how you go about sentence correction questions. Okay, spot as many errors as you can in the question sentence, read it relatively slowly, read vertically, spot differences, eliminate. Okay, hope this helps. And the more you practice, the better you get. Yes, absolutely, Karan. There is a playlist for MHCT on our YouTube channel. I think it will be there in the description box as well. So just check the description box of this session and you'll probably find it there. These are, in fact, there's an Excel sheet link also that you'll find in the description box where we have given the links of all exam-wise playlists. Okay, so just look for that Excel sheet in the description box, right? And apart from that, of course, you are asked. Errors present in parts of a sentence. There again, you have to read with a fault finding lens. So again, relatively slowly. Okay. And okay, so what students do is they look at each fragment independently, but they don't connect it with the whole. See, the sentence is a whole sentence. I have divided it into fragments for the purpose of my question, but the error that you will find will be in the context of the whole sentence only. For instance, in this one, how did you decide that it should be between? After looking at all these three, no, homeowners, tenants, and security guards. So don't think of this as a complete unit, which is independent while attempting the question. You have to read the whole sentence collectively, right? पूरे sentence को देखना और फिर error spot करना. तो fault finding lens से read करो, पूरे sentence को एक साथ consider करो, right? Consider the entire sentence. And of course, in any fragment where you do not think there is an error, where you are sure about it, eliminate it right away. So this is the only possible way. And practicing, again, practice makes a person perfect. Okay. Mocks, yes, we do have a mock series available, so you can consider buying that. It has MHCT mocks as well. Preparation sources, as I told you, previous year papers, all the non-CAT papers, even your early CAT papers. Practice vocabulary and grammar questions from there. Practice parajumble questions from there. Even they'll help. MHCT mocks, MHCT memory-based papers. NMAT official guide, in case any of you bought that for your NMAT exam, now is the time to use it. Okay, it'll have a number of vocabulary and grammar questions. In fact, NMAT की अपनी एक word list भी है. So if you don't want to do Barron's list, NMAT has its own word list in the official guide. You can go for that. Okay, on our website, see on the BYJU'S exam prep app, right, we keep on conducting various sessions that will be useful for you. For instance, yesterday I had an etymology based vocabulary session where I did a number of new words through questions with students. So I think I must have done 40-50 new words and I taught them roots. तो अब जब भी वो रूट देखेंगे तो उनको आइडिया हो जाएगा कि इस वर्ड का अप्रोक्सीमेटली ये मीनिंग है, राइट? सो वी कीप कंडक्टिंग सेशंस देयर. In fact, if you want to go for specific question types, you can just type like this: sentence correction questions BYJU'S, and you will get sent a list of sentence correction questions on byju's.com. That is also there. You do have playlists. Last year we had a number of MHCT sessions. All of those are available. So just go through those playlists, attend these sessions, and I'm sure you will get exposed to new questions. Right? All right. RCs and MHCT, since they consume a lot of time, you can't leave them entirely, in case you're trying to maximize your score from there. So it depends on whether VRC is your strength or not. If it is your strength, if you claim that this is where I want to maximize my score from, then you can't leave them entirely. You can just do this direct questions, sare kar lo, inference questions. In case you feel you're able to eliminate comfortably, do them. Otherwise, don't do them. Right? But you can't leave them entirely. That's my contention. Okay, अगर VRC बहुत ही weak है and you feel that okay QADI LRC I'll be able to maximize, then probably you can consider. But in case 22 out of 55 questions come from RC passages, I wonder how you will fare well in the exam if you leave them entirely, right? That's the maximum that came last year. That's why I'm considering that. Okay. So IBPS, I'm afraid I don't have much idea, Sadanand. And yes, this is our new batch for CAT 2023. In case any of your friends are targeting CAT 23, do recommend it to them, right? In case you are targeting it, then you can see the features here. A lot of practice material, which is what you keep searching for, right? Of course, expert guidance at every step, even for the next stage, right? GDPI WATs. So you can consider enrolling in it, right? New batches available. The link is in the description box. You can also call up our counselors. The bottom bar is visible. There is a phone number there. And for enrolling in these batches, we do provide scholarships as well to make them more accessible. You can get up to 90% scholarship There's a scholarship test, I think 21st, today itself. Yes, today itself at 7 p.m. Register for it right now, attempt for it in the evening. It is not as difficult as CAT, trust me. It's an easier test, so you can fare well here. You can see that 27,000 plus students have already won a scholarship, right? Then some of you must be wondering whether to prepare for CAT 2023 from right now, whether to wait for a while, then start the preparation. In case these are your queries and you want to find out what your test taking strategy should be, then on 24th at 7 p.m. we have this session, this workshop by Srinivas sir, where he'll talk to you about how you can plan your schedule for these coming months and why it is important to start right now. Okay. And yes, some of you are targeting CMAT. I have already announced this multiple times. So today, I think the CMAT mock must already be live if you check our app. So just go to the link in the description box. The link is there in the description box. Register for it right now, and you can take it right now. The CMAT mock, right? Um, SRCC और CMAT ये तो अलग अलग चीजें हो गई ना. SRCC has this GBO, right? Where the admissions are through CAT, I believe. CMAT, so last year again, we conducted a number of CMAT sessions. Have a look at those sessions. There is a playlist for those sessions. Okay. And apart from that, the syllabus, so to say, is again the same. Vocabulary, grammar, RC passages, and verbal logic. यही सब आता है CMAT में भी. So the preparation is going to be very similar. On the similar lines, you have to prepare for those four broad areas itself. Okay. Yes, get social. We are there on Instagram, yes, and we are there on Telegram also. So you can join either of them. I'm sure you've subscribed to the channel so that you get notifications. And yes, you can download the app, it will benefit you. A lot of material there as well. Okay, bye bye. This is it from my end. I'll keep seeing you with more sessions. Okay, bye bye, bye bye. Welcome.